Have you ever been curious about what a pharmacy career looks 5 years out after you're done with pharmacy school? Well, in today's video, we actually talk about this. So 5 years ago, we shot reality versus expectations, what it was like fresh out of pharmacy school. I think we're how many months out?
We're about almost 5 years out now. So 5 years, 1 month.
Yeah. So we talked about it when we were fresh out of high school, but what is it like 5 years out? I mean, right now, what is the pharmacy market like?
Well, I actually don't know, but I think it's a lot more competitive. And I've heard that, now you should probably just do residency just to even get a job, besides retail, of course. But, you just have to stay competitive because it's so hard to get hired on these days now. And even with retail jobs, you're just a per diem pharmacist floating everywhere from store to store. It's really hard to even get full time.
In today's video, I bring up 5 expectations that I thought pharmacy would be like and talk about what's actually like 5 years out.
So Kevin, what did you expected? What was the number one thing you thought you were gonna get out of pharmacy?
I thought I would be like a straight up baller out of pharmacy school. I think I've said this multiple times throughout my videos. But yeah, exactly. Dude, life is so different, especially 5 years out, because one of the things about pharmacy is that you you said, you make a lot of money and you just peak there,
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, what I also realized too was that I had such a poor mindset. For the longest time, I would not go on vacation, and it's hard to, I don't know for you, what's your experience like that?
Well, it's hard because first you can't really get the hours that you want, and then when you finally do go on vacation, it's expensive. And I have a lot of bills, and I have student loans, I have mortgage, I have everything you can dream of, and you have to keep dreaming to get more money apparently.
Yeah. So yeah, I realized that, what is the point of all this money if you can't freaking enjoy it, man? Do you have to work holidays and stuff too?
Not so much, which I'm really grateful for. But, we talk about this at work sometimes because...
Oh, really?
Yeah, because, they were always talking about how when you're in your 20s and you're young, you have all this energy, you want to explore, travel, do everything, but you don't have the money. But now you have the money, but you don't have the time. And it's just always this seesaw, going back and forth, and you can't meet in that middle where you can just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, that's so true.
All right, so you're not a baller. But what's number 2? What did you expected next?
Dude, I don't know. I've always had this dream that I would actually travel the world. I always had this dream hey man, I'm gonna go backpacking in Asia and stuff and live out of hostels and whatnot. But I think it goes back into first point is dude, you have all this money, but you can't enjoy it, man.
You know what though? I think sometimes you need to just pull the trigger because I think about it all the time. Should I just quit and travel with the money I have saved and just enjoy my life, and so that I can feel like I've experienced what I want to experience? Because in the end, like you said, life is just so short. You don't know what to expect after, the next 5 years. So, just enjoy life.
Yeah, it's so funny. As you're saying this, I think about my time in, so it took me 5 years to actually go on a freaking vacation. I mean, you've known me for a long time.
I know.
Dude,
and you never go on vacation.
Never once. Dude, I barely even go back for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
I know. I always expect you to go, but then you're always oh, I'm in town. I'm like, oh, okay.
But I think one of the huge breaking points for me is dude, I had to break out of that poor mindset. Hey, there's always enough money out there.
Yeah.
Maybe just once in a while, just fucking YOLO and just go to Hawaii. And it was such a life-changing experience for me because I got to actually enjoy the fruits of my labor, So
yeah.
I think if you prioritize it, definitely you can make time to travel the world. But it's definitely hard. It's not freaking easy though.
All right, so let's see. You're not a baller. You're open to taking vacations now after 5 years.
Yeah.
Now what?
So I think when I first went into pharmacy, I always imagined myself traveling to see my family back home and whatnot. I thought I could take these 1-day trips and yo, let's go back to Boston and stuff and spend Thanksgiving and stuff. But for me, that actually just didn't happen. That just didn't happen. One thing that I didn't consider was actually working a lot of the holidays.
Yeah,
you know?
it's really hard because we're open all the time.
Yeah, it's tough. I think that's something that a lot of pharmacy students and pharmacy people don't take in consideration when you're actually applying and whatnot. And I don't think it's just for pharmacy. I think it's actually for a lot of healthcare.
Well, I mean, a lot of jobs, they don't have holidays off too. So, I mean, you can't just compare to other jobs. But I think overall, when you're applying to pharmacy school, you need to know like your sacrifices and also, you know, where you're getting yourself into. Do a little bit more homework than to just, you know, think about the salary, you know, because those dollar signs are going to be minus signs.
Yeah, and especially like, and know what's so funny? When I applied to pharmacy school, I always thought I would just be in Boston, live in Boston, die in Boston, you know? But it's funny, like as jobs are getting more saturated, as it's harder to find a job, you might have to move out into like the middle of nowhere, like North Dakota or South Dakota or something like that. Yeah. And so that's something I also did not consider. And that makes it a lot also harder to see my family as well.
Yeah. And I've heard of so many students like sacrificing themselves in like the middle of nowhere to go to pharmacy school there. And although you can probably do that and come back, you have to keep in mind how saturated it's going to be back in California at least.
I mean, do you think it's like really worth it to like sacrifice that amount of time or that?
Depends. I mean, if you get a job, maybe, but if not, then no. Okay, so now you're gonna fly back to see your family for vacations, holidays. Now what?
Well, you know, it's so funny. So when I first started working my first pharmacy chain, I always thought the grass was always greener on the other side. Like, hey, if I escape XYZ, I'm not gonna say the chain, but XYZ pharmacy, it would be so much better. But what I realized is like, grass is always greener, dude. When I actually made that transition, it didn't happen like that at all. There's like their own culture, their own bureaucracy, their own headaches for every single different pharmacy.
So then what do you expect now?
Well, like what's my next expectation?
Yes.
So it's funny, like back in the day, I think I worked almost like 8 years for like this pharmacy chain. And dude, I hated it so much. And I thought for some reason that if I left this chain, like my life would be perfect and whatnot. But when I actually eventually did it, it was a lot harder. Like grass is always greener. There's always like, whether you go to a pharmacy chain to another pharmacy chain, or you go from pharmacy chain to like grocery chain or independent, every single area has its own headaches and whatnot.
Well, life's not perfect, even in the work field. So I think that's kind of what you're getting at, I feel like, because you always hear like better stuff from your friends or worse stuff from your friends, and then you want that better stuff, and then when you finally do, I mean, it's like the whole thing about, you know, feeling left out and expecting more in life, and then once you reach to that point, it's not what you think it'd be. So
yeah, exactly. And I think it's like, hey, there's always give and take at the end of the day, especially if you're like switching jobs and stuff. Have you ever considered like why change?
I mean, I definitely don't want to lose my pharmacy experience, but I do think about doing a side business. And I think that's kind of something I've always wanted to do, like a little side hustle on the side, like online business, online, like selling stuff online. I always wanted to get myself into that, but it's hard because you get tired after working, and, you know, it's really hard to successfully do something unless you put more time into it. And that requires you to really maybe go like per diem or even quit for a little bit. Yeah,
take the leap of faith.
It's really hard.
Yeah, so like for me, that was actually one of the hardest things for me to do recently, was like, hey, you know what? Maybe it's time to just put a hold on my pharmacy career and actually just do something that in my gut, it tells me it's right and that I really want and love to do. I think it's okay if you don't like pharmacy. It's not wasting your career if you suddenly decide to leave. You know, what do you think about that?
Well, you know, I do know a lot of people who utilizes their pharmacy career or their own. So today, actually, for an example, I met my friend who's an engineer, and he's like done very successful, like he's been a successful contractor for some engineering company. But what he has a passion for is photography. And so he's saved enough money now, and, you know, he's pretty much settled in like, you know, like his life. And now he's going back to photography again. So you can always use it as like a booster to something you're more passionate about, and you know that you won't be able to like be successful like right on the spot, because photography is kind of hard if you're just gonna go straight into it.
So I want to help you guys. If you guys are feeling lost and whatnot, a great book that actually helped me figure out that I wanted to leave pharmacy was a book called FE Money. I'll leave it in the description below. So guys, let me know if you are 5 years out in your pharmacy career. Tell me in the comments, what is your life actually like? What do you imagine your pharmacy career to be like in 5 years? Let me know in the comments, guys. By the way, I just want to thank you, Angela, for being the true homie, doing a part dose for this video. And I appreciate your input and whatnot. So guys, we'll see you later. Peace.